This will be a series of playthrough videos for Transport Fever 2. I'm aiming to make a French-based sort of sandbox setup, semi-realistic as much as possible. And this is the terrain that I'm using. I'm using the Ultima Loca Temperate mod to create the height map, and these are the settings that I'm using if you wish to emulate this yourself. And this is going to give us quite a good starting point for a large city. At one end I'll get the opportunity to create a central city in the middle, and then there's opportunity to create the other major city at the far end. And it has some rivers, it has some mountains, so this is looking really good. And this is the seed. So we're going to go ahead and generate this terrain. I'm turning off forests because I want to be able to control the trees in relation to creating farmland, etc., without having to sort of delete the trees to be able to do that. So I will create the trees quite near the end of this process, sort of several hours in. So I'm going to go ahead and generate the terrain. So the terrain looks a little bare because there are absolutely no trees at all at the moment, but it will definitely start to look more interesting and more realistic as we develop it. So this will be the starting point for what we'll call City 1. I'm not going to name them until I actually create the towns much later on in the process. This is a really good starting point. Some really good tall mountains surrounding it. You imagine this is somewhere sort of in the Alps area of France. Would be really good. We have a river, and we're going to actually adjust this river so that it doesn't go off and come back on the map again. So if we need to get ships going up this river, we'll get a nice continuous flow there. So we're going to change that. And as we go up the river, got some opportunities for sort of small villages amongst the valley here. This is looking really interesting. And we have very, very dense sort of mountainous regions on the right hand side. Opportunities for some more smaller villages nestled within the mountains for the regional routes. And basically our main TGV high speed lines that we're going to set up are going to run along the main river, and going to have a secondary route. Probably we'll go through this valley area because this is looking really good to run through, and probably run up along this river or maybe through this valley. This is looking a little dense, so maybe this might be a bit tricky, but ultimately we'll run all the way up until we get to this area, which will be our sort of second major terminal city at the end. And we might adjust some of this terrain. These hills are not really doing anything for me at this point, so we're going to start by adjusting the river at the far end. So we're going to start by adjusting this river out. So basically just going to give that a nice smooth out, and we're going to sort of take this line roughly, very roughly for now. Let's make the brush size a little larger. That's looking good. So then we're just going to smooth this, get rid of these hard edges. So that's looking good. So now that if we start running ships along here, then we can keep that river continuous. And we're going to have a look at this end in terms of how this will be the starting point for our main city. So we're going to flatten out a decent area because you want to get a train station, main terminal station, in this sort of rough area. So you can see actually it looks flat, but it's really not flat at all. So we need to get that flat, otherwise we're going to have all sorts of issues with the setting the rails up at the start. You can see actually we are really causing some problems now because we've basically got some cliffs. It just shows you how steep this actually was. It's very subtle. So you can see they've got the major contour now, but these minor contours are very, very. You really have to zoom in to sort of see them. So it's telling you what you need to know. But really you need to sort of go by eye as well. So I'm going to smooth this out. Because basically we don't want visible cliffs. So this is all just sort of going to blend in. Is that going to blend in enough? Probably not. So we're going to have to work on this a little bit more. But I won't bore you with the finer details of that. But you get the idea. You can see actually no, this is a huge step. So I think actually what we're going to need to do, we're going to need to sort of pull this out to the hills, just to basically raise the entire floor of this valley, just so we've got a good starting point for our major city. We really don't want these horrible annoying little hills at this point. It's fine when you've got the rails running through the countryside, but it's the same as city skylines. When you want something flat, you want it flat. You don't want it flat with slight little ups and downs and variations and annoyances, because it just you just really struggle then to get things to look good or to work. So you'll see what I mean when we get to the hills. We'll start smoothing it into the hills in a second. But I think this is really important to get this right. You'll thank me for it later. I'm going to get tips popping up because I haven't played Transport Fever for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and we'll jump back in a second. So we've pulled that level all the way to the mountain edges, so now we just need to basically apply a little bit of smoothing, probably with a smaller brush than that, just to sort of ease the edges in, to blend it back into the hills. Because these hills were sort of really sticking out of this flat valley anyway, so what we've done, we just raised the level up slightly. Just smooth those gradients back in. It's worth taking your time over this. But as we're playing a sandbox game, you can actually do this in the actual game when we're running it. Anyway, this is no cost. Might just smooth this out a bit. It's a bit of a weird depression there. This would be a little pass off map. We can imagine the world isn't just surrounded by these four edges. That would be the way out. We can up the brush size a little bit. You can see we still have a little bit of a step there. So let's just work this in. Try and get rid of these hard edges. So it may take a little while to, I'm using the wrong one there, to sort of perfect your technique and what you're trying to achieve, but you'll get there in the end and you'll create something that is realistic but also is sort of working for you for the terrain that you want to create. So this is starting to look a little better now. And we'll just keep smoothing this out. Like I said, you don't have to get it right straight away. You're just trying to get the principles to work. This is really good because this is a really nice, interesting sort of set of valleys that we're going to get some regional trains running through, and maybe connecting back up to the bigger towns. This is looking really good. So we've got this beautifully perfect flat plateau that we can create city and farmland on. We're just going to smooth out these a little more. Just remembering to use the right brush, keep your workflow efficient. This is looking good. So do we have a dip here? Not really, because the terrain is starting to climb down here anyway. So I think this is looking good. I'm just going to smooth out anything odd that looks a bit rough in the landscape that maybe we don't quite want to highlight as a feature. This is looking really nice. Beautiful valley. It's a slightly odd one there, isn't it? Let's just smooth that out. It's a bit better. It's little weird peaks that pick up on the edge of the map. Just catches the eye a little. These are beautiful, beautiful mountains. It would be a great little valley that we can maybe get a road at least through there. Beautiful, beautiful. Slightly odd. Smooth these out. When we come and build villages and towns along the valley here, we can do some more smoothing and flattening. I'm not quite sure where we're going to position them yet, so we can keep the natural undulations of the valley for now. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for there. That's fine. So our third city. Yeah, we did say around here, didn't we? I tell you what, this hill does look a bit weird, so I'm going to go ahead now and basically take this hill out because it's in the way. Let's create a nice plateau for our third major city here in the middle. It's actually, we're dipping down on all four sides, so we could probably take a slightly higher line. So you can see I'm just using the crew tool for now to sort of create a, trying to find where that line might be. I think it's probably this level. Yeah, I think this works better. So we're not stepping into a pit basically. So I think that looks good. So we'll smooth this out. That's probably, yeah, I need a little bit more work here. Just to bring out these edges. It's looking better. Okay, that's a good starting point, I think, for city number 3. That's just visually annoying me, so I'm gonna just hoof that little island out of the river there. I know these things can happen. Another thing that Transport FIFA always does, these very weird sharp points in the rivers. it's going to get eroded eventually. It's not going to be razor sharp like an arrowhead, so feel free to smooth these out. I like the idea that maybe the flow is going in this direction. This corner would be more eroded as the water is cutting into this side, depositing on this side. It's just a little smoother. I mean, is this realistic the way these rivers zig and zag? Not really. Will it do for a video game? I think so. So this will be the other major terminus. So we're going to do the same at this end. We're just going to give ourselves... Oh, this is very steep, see? So there's already quite a step there. So I'm going to push this right to the edge. Take in this whole area. And we'll try and blend it as if these hills are going to be part of this depression here. I'm going to work on the basis that this line of hills sort of tracks around. That's how we bring this out to the river. It's going to end up quite steep. That's fine, we'll have basically a river down the hill from town. These guys are not going to flood. So that's always a good thing. Start smooth this out, we'll need to come and refine this a little in a minute. Just get the basic shapes down. Still got that idea of having this hill in the corner. So I think this is okay. A lot of towns are going to have a slope down to the river for various reasons. Obviously the water has cut the hill down, but also things get built up over time, and you want to be above the water level anyway. So just need to flatten this out a little here. Smooth this back down. So we have a bit of a dip between that ridgeline. Okay, so I think this is enough to get going to start with this save. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to save the map, and I'm going to start playing it in sandbox mode and start curating the towns, the railway lines, the stations and the trains. So join me in episode 2.